Welcome to Comic Toy Reviews, and this review is on Amazing Fantasy number 15, the first appearance of Spider-Man, and why focusing in on the pages, and why I think this first page of the story is actually one of the best introductions that told you all about the character that you ever needed to know in terms of a superhero. This one splash page pretty much established in terms of the main character, in terms of details and giving the reader information about what's going to happen. First we have the Amazing Fantasy cover. As you can see, Spider-Man here. It was drawn by Jack Kirby with inking by Steve Ditko, but it's actually a recreation from Steve Ditko's original cover, but with a different perspective in terms of the character. Here's the original cover. This is the original Amazing Fantasy 15 cover that was not published by Steve Ditko. You can see the crook is held by one hand and Spider-Man is on a web swinging. This perspective was looking down at the character. It was meant to involve the reader that they're part of the action, and it's a downward view, like someone maybe higher in the building is looking down and seeing this through the window. This point of view evokes more of a how Kirby drew characters, in terms of that they were basically, for lack of a better word, they were gods above humanity, and that people looked up to the character. And that was the stark difference between a Kirby or a Ditko, is that Ditko was more of a man on the street artist, like you're part of the action and you are involved, that you could relate to the character and their situations. And Kirby was an artist more of a grandeur, of a godlike, perfect, flawless heroes, and quite a dramatic difference. And talking about this cover right here, one great thing is it's a full body shot that shows the hero in costume from head to toe. No hiding body parts, no just showing the upper body or the head. Here it's showing the whole body, all the arms, all the legs, everything. I think that's really good for establishing the first appearance of a character, because you want people to buy it and try something new. So why are you going to show the hero with just a half a body shot, or out of costume, or just the head shot only? If you're going to show the character for the first time, make sure the reader, or a potential new reader, could see everything. And that's what this shot establishes. Plus it gives you the name Spider-Man right there. It tells you Peter Parker's name right there. You look at this great splash page for the first issue. Just a great splash page. And here's why. First of all, you got the logo, Spider-Man. It shows you the character in costume. And it shows you his civilian identity out of costume. So you get both. You get the name mentioned of the superhero Spider-Man. You get the name mentioned of his civilian identity as Peter Parker. Originally, from looking at the original art files, it was revealed that, you see Spider-Man here? There was webbing going all around his body, shooting in all different directions like a spider web. But it was whited out because this Spider-Man logo, the original logo didn't have the hyphen in it. And so they probably whited out the spider webs because it couldn't work, and then they pasted up this logo with the hyphen. It was a last minute change because, other than the cover and right here, in the story itself there was no hyphen. That was a last minute change by Stan Lee. But in the first issue or two, there was no hyphen. You got the costume, you got the civilian identity, and look at this establishment shot. Just analyze it for a little bit. What do you see? I'll tell you what you see is, you can establish that this is a school situation. You look, he's holding books here, the way they're dressed, a bunch of teenagers. It tells you right away that this is high school. and right there, high school is mentioned right there. But it's all established from the background as well as what the characters are wearing. And look at this situation. Here he is, the main hero, hardly looking happy, hardly looking at ease. And look how isolated he is, completely and totally alone in the shot. And all these other people are having fun, laughing and smiling. This guy's not laughing and smiling. Look at that. A hand wave, like talk to the hand or get out of here. It's clearly established without even telling you the story, just in terms of the art alone. It establishes that this guy is not part of the group and is basically alone, and everyone else here is having fun and dismissing him. And there's some mystery here because this is abstract art right here, in terms that none of the characters see this. You, the reader, see it. The characters don't see it. There is a wall obviously there, but that wall is what's on the wall. That image of Spider-Man just in shadow. That's for the reader to see. So you can see the spider, the webbing, and the shadow. And this character looks confident, and this character doesn't. It's a little mystery right there. And what connects the two images is the shadow. You see the shadow? It forms the Spider-Man shadow. Without that line indicating his shadow, if it was just on the wall, you wouldn't necessarily connect the two. So what this page gives you is an analysis that this guy is Spider-Man. Both the hero, civilian, names are mentioned, so you know who the characters are. And right away, you know this character is not part of the group or accepted by them, and he's pretty much dismissed by them. And at the situations in high school, this guy's not happy. Everyone here is happy, and they're happy to be without him. That's a lot of information for one page, and a splash page that's a great introduction. One of the best, and maybe the best, for the first issue and first page of the story of a new hero. Second page of the story is pretty much established from the art alone, without even having to read the text, that this guy lives with his aunt and uncle, that this guy's accepted by his family, he's smart. The woman he asks out just totally dismisses him, gets dismissed by his classmates. Again, talk to the hand, no one's looking at him, and pretty much total dismissal. Get out of here. This shot, science experiment, and you could tell he's going alone. Third page of the story. Right here you could see the spider biting his hand. It was an accident, and he just wanders out, and something is going on. A mystery. He doesn't feel well, and something has happened and changed. Jumping away from a car, almost hit him last minute. Could have been the end of Spider-Man right there. This page, climbing up a wall, super strength, balance, probably just showing you intuition and just him realizing something has happened. Only in comic books, right? So an opportunity to make some money, as well as test out his powers if they were real. And he wears a mask to hide his identity because if he fails, he didn't want to be embarrassed with everyone laughing, so he just hid it in a mask so no one would know who he was. Easily beats the wrestler who gives up. This guy sees potential in what he just saw. This page, Basically, call me, he says, and keep the mask a bit. He's at home, the aunt and uncle, everything's fine. But you see him design the web shooters and the costume because he wants to be a showman. He got the idea from the agent, and he just took it to the next level. Page 7 here. You see him in front of the television cameras. Everything is established. Unbelievable. People are in disbelief by what they're seeing. It's a great act. Everyone wants to know him. Here's a chance right here. Basically a cop needing help to stop a criminal. And he dismisses it. Basically because it's not his job. And why should he be responsible? Doesn't mean anything to him. At least not at the moment. So he goes on and successfully a showman in Hollywood. And then one night, you see, here's something that people easily don't realize. When this guy gets away, it says, in the days that follow, Spider-Man becomes the sensation of the nation. And one evening, Peter Parker returns home from a personal appearance. You see, it's happened a mysterious amount of days later. Could have been weeks, it could have been months, but sometime later it happened. The incident at the house. It did not happen the same day. On a lot of retellings, people just assume like it was the very same day that this guy robs this place, and he just suddenly, that same day, ends up at Peter Parker's home. That didn't happen, and that's too unrealistic. What did happen is that some amount of time later, this incident happened at the home with the criminal right here. Is not related to the earlier incident in terms of it being the same day or 1 day later or 2 days later. Since you could see here, he's having all these different awards and mentions and in the newspapers. Significant amount of time happened between that incident and this incident. He found out the uncle had been shot and murdered, and that the criminal basically is hiding in a warehouse. He runs into the house. The aunt's not there. She's with a neighbor. He goes out the window of Spider-Man. Page 10. It's established it's at night. Establishing shot that it's an old warehouse. Sees the criminal. He's armed with the gun. Same gun that killed his uncle. The criminal is no match for this superpowered character. Easily taken care of. And a great shot of a punch in the face, which brings swift justice. Really nice that the guy gets punched instead of just capturing him, you know. Adds that heroic and man-like need for justice and just to get some payback. The shocking revelation, notice the eyes, you can see it, because to show how shocking the revelation was. It's the same criminal he let go of earlier. The guy is captured. The mask off and the tears. He realizes he just stopped the criminal when he had the chance. This wouldn't have happened. And one great thing people always mistake nowadays is that that power and responsibility line, that probably Stan Lee's greatest caption that was made up on the spot. You know, when he was writing, he just making it up as he goes along, that no idea it would mean so much, but that one line really means everything to the whole entire story. And it's probably one of the most powerful lines in a comic book that just totally tells you what the characters are going to be about and his personality. Here, a lot of people assume that Uncle Ben told him about the power and responsibility, and that didn't happen. It goes right here. A lean, silent figure slowly fades into the gathering darkness, aware at last that in this world, with great power, there must come great responsibility. You see, it goes, aware at last in this world. You see, it's a lesson he learned personally and thought of. It wasn't something his uncle told him. Because if it's something his uncle told him, it means a little less, I think, than if the character learns it themselves. In other words, they learn it themselves by their own thinking about the subject. That means more, I think, than just someone handing the character information about that line, and then they picked it up, and he picked it up from his uncle. But no, it's pretty clear that he thought about it, and he became aware, and he learned that lesson of responsibility. And the final part, and so a legend is born, and a new name is added to the roster of those who make the world of fantasy the most exciting realm of all. Isn't that true? A legend is born? How true is that? When it comes to responsibility, one great thing that I was hearing is that it really is a generic form of responsibility, meaning it's not guilt per se, because if it is guilt, his motivation to put on a mask and costume, guilt is not an empowering emotion. Since when is guilt something that really drives a person in terms of performing heroic actions? Guilt by itself is not empowering. Plus, when you think about it, even though he could have stopped the criminal, the truth is the criminal made up his own mind and lived his own life, and he made those choices in his life that Spider-Man is not responsible for, per se, the actions of another person. In other words, as an individual, you're responsible for your own life. Someone else isn't responsible for your actions. You have a mind, you make choices, and then you got to live with those choices. What's interesting about this generic form of responsibility is basically it goes back to the saying that he was given power, superhuman powers, and to use it responsibly to help fellow mankind, because he learned a lesson that he was given these powers. He pretty much shirked his responsibility, said, "This don't involve me." Then he realized what happened in his personal life and how it affected him. And so he doesn't want the same thing to happen to other people if he could stop it or has a say. So if someone's in trouble, is a criminal loose, and he could take care of the situation, he's going to take care of the situation. Not a motivation of guilt of taking care of the situation. No, he's taking care of the situation because he has the power to do something about it, and he is going to do something about it. And that's the heroic quality of Spider-Man, of being, even though it's a generic form of responsibility for his fellow man, and not any real specific, because he don't know these people he's helping. He doesn't personally know them. But he just knows that by acting and helping when he can, people's lives will be saved, and their lives will be better. And that is a heroic quality. And let's face it, in the real world, of course they have the fantasy element of superpowers, and that's not going to happen. And that's why it's fantasy comic books. But in the real world, if you had superpowers and you know people who had superpowers, they're not going to help others, really. You look at sports stars, you look at movie stars, you look at musicians, and for the most part, if you really got to know them and read their biographies and knew stuff about them, a lot of them are just selfish individuals, just in it out for themselves, just to enrich themselves, and any helping of their fellow mankind is just, it's not even there, or it's very little. In other words, a lot of these so-called celebrities are arrogant, and, they hate dealing with their fans. They could care less about them. And so that aspect of Spider-Man becoming a Hollywood star and just wanting to live the life, that's how most people would act with superpowers, or if they had a gift in society, they would just capitalize on it, make money, and just live it up. As far as helping people, most people would be just like that with superpowers. Get out of here, I'm in it to help myself, and that's it. Case closed. Like that hand, that's the same hand that he received from his high school classmates of "Don't bother me." And that's how most celebrities and people would react in a situation in real life of "Don't bother me, I'm doing my thing, I'm getting rich, I'm the celebrity, and that's the life I'm leading." As far as helping people out or using it to help mankind, forget it. But isn't that the more realistic truth when you think about it? But that lesson of responsibility is what changed the character from living that life into living a life that is truly heroic and of value and of meaning, into being something better than what he could have been. So that's my analysis of the Amazing Fantasy 15 story. Tell me what you think in the comments. Want to see maybe some more type of reviews like this on this channel? So let me know. Hopefully it was entertaining, informative, and cool. So thanks for watching, and talk to you later.